So I wasn't expecting to actually put together this show and record it, but then as I was wrapping up the show, I'm like, you know what? I kind of do want to record it because the one thing I like to savor with this game, especially this season, or save whatever you want to call it, is I like to savor the idea of I like to savor the idea of keeping the big moments and telling the story. And I will be honest that there's bits and pieces of this that I was going to take more steps to, you know, exasperate a little bit more. But number one, I couldn't figure out how to do it. And number two, I guess it's getting past the idea that this is what it is and how much of a bigger deal do you want it to be, almost. So I don't want to say there's a separation, but kind of. That's what I'm trying to say. But, it's also figuring out what's next. It's just figuring out what's next. And in the process of figuring out what's next, it's crazy that even after all this time, which for those who may not know, this is the 1977 database, um, I would say partially updated by my brother. And, at first I had some shortcomings with this database where I really didn't know anything about the Seaverse. But when the time came to start digging into it, I started getting attached. And the more time I spend in Supreme, the more attached to these guys I get, and the more I want to keep going. The more I want to keep going. So, to explain, the Wrestling Classic had it replaced. Well, to explain, for those who may not be aware, the Battle Bowl concept was a concept initially in WCW back in the early 90s, and basically it was where, similar to how WWE does the Royal Rumble drawings, you did the big thing and names were picked out at random and people were put together in a tag team. People were put together in a tag team. It could be, you know, um, it could have been Arn Anderson and Mick Foley versus, Barry Windham and Lex Luger or whatever. But the winner of the respective tag team match would go into a battle royal, and then the winner of the battle royal would get a title shot. Yes, it seems a little convoluted. Mine was a little bit more convoluted because I didn't set it up right. But with that being said, this is replacing the March Mania tournament, which the March Mania tournament was our March tournament for the tag team division to spotlight the tag team division, and I got rid of it this year. I was going to get rid of King of the Squared Circle and do completely new stuff all this year, including the Battle Bowl, because I personally always loved the Battle Bowl concept. And anytime I would do WCW saves, I would always bring back Battle Bowl, because you know, even though it sounds convoluted, it does give you the opportunity to advance rivalries. It does give you the opportunity to add different layers to new rivalries. It gives you the opportunity to have tag teams going against each other, which honestly is something I probably should have done in this Battle Bowl, but I didn't. I could have had, Frank Rock against Sky Maverick, or, you know, Major Havoc against Private Punishment, or, I could have had Big Trouble against Robert Burns. But I didn't. I took the easy way, and just did it that way. But I am impressed that the Battle Royal did as well as it did. But I guess with the talent that was in it, from the Flames to Dusty Streets to Rocky Streets to Richie Pangrazio to Rick Rumble, Madman McManus, and I gotta applaud a lot of these, AI photos. It may, look at the comparison between the guys who don't have one and the guys who do have one. It looks a hell of a lot better. That I would applaud my brother for, because he's one of the people that are helping update the photos. But of course, Joey Flame won. I could be wrong, but I know Frank Rock was one of them, and Dusty Streets was one of them that fell to the final four. Frank Rock was the final elimination, which means Joey Flame and Frank Rock pick partners and fight for the Battle Bowl title, aka the #1 contendership for the tag team titles, later tonight. Joey, of course, makes it easy and chooses his brother Teddy, as it will be Teddy and Joey against Frank Rock and a partner later tonight for the Battle Bowl, in the Battle Bowl finals. Riley Escobar gets her first title chance, is the first title defense of Ann Stardust as the Vixen champion. I've been poked and prodded recently due to Athena being a part of the company about setting up a women's division. And over the last couple of years, probably since 1979, I've experimented with different championships. The TV title, the New England title, the Supreme Tag Team titles. I've experimented with different tag team different titles. The only one I didn't really experiment with was a divisional or a specific title. Like the Women's Championship is specific to the women in SWF, and we don't have a picture-perfect division, but a division is forming. That's what counts, and that's what counts. A division is forming. Now we move to something else, and the something else is last year, Ken Cullen made it official that in 1981, at the end of 1981, it would be his last year as an active wrestler. Meaning, we are in the midst of Ken Cullen's last full year as an active performer. But now, Ken Cullen and Clint Wayne, who have been a tag team since Clint Wayne made his debut, step up to say, basically, if Sam Keith wants it, they will do what they can to help him find his place in Supreme and be his mentor, because Sam Keith got props for stepping up to the Wild Man last week on Slamfest, and now Sam Keith is also getting props for doing that, standing alone in the ring with Madman McManus, Tex Montana, Dredd, and Wildman Sullivan, and the underhanded, slimy James Silverman. But now Ken and Clint are basically telling Sam, you don't have to stand alone. And they are willing to help him and mentor him as best they can. Now we move to Romeo Hart, who has some interview time with Bob Johnson, as Romeo was a part of the Battle Royal, which I don't think Romeo was one of the featured performers in the Battle Royal on the, when we were going through the show. But Romeo explains that I may have came up short earlier tonight in the Battle Royal, but I did accomplish something. And Bob looks over at him and he said, what could you have possibly accomplished if you didn't win the match? Bob, what I accomplished is the fact that Rick Rumble didn't win, and I'm the reason why. I eliminated Rick Rumble from the Royal Rumble, from the Battle Royal, and of course, my main goal was to win. But I will also say my goal A was to win. Like 1A was to win, and 1B was to make sure Rick Rumble didn't. The fact that Teddy and Joey were the ones that ended up getting that Joey was the one that ended up getting his hand raised, and now Teddy and Joey get to contend in the finals of the Battle Bowl, that makes it all that much better. That makes it all so much better. It continues Romeo Hart's building Romeo Hart to his eventual fight with his former partner Rick Rumble, and it also starts bringing us back to the Flames and Romeo Hart against Mickey Starr, Sam Strong, and Rick Rumble. We'll go through it as we continue on the show, but we branch to something. I know I'm gonna be. I don't want to say I'm gonna be yelled at. I don't know. I don't want to say that I'm gonna be lectured. I'm gonna say that somebody's gonna point to them being right. But the fact of the matter is, I have been impressed over the last 2 weeks with what has gone down with Ray Kingman. And Ray Kingman is one of the reasons why I can sit here and say that even after all this time, 4 years, and we're approaching May of 1981, even after 4 years, I am still finding different ways to keep myself integrated, keep myself interested, and keep myself invested in this season and in this save. And Ray Kingman is one of the reasons why, because over the last couple of weeks, Coach has put up his own money in any match that Ray Kingman participates in. Coach would guarantee if Kingman loses, then Coach would pay the winner $1,000 of Coach's own money. But thus far, Ray Kingman has proven Coach's bet right. He has proven Coach's bet right, and he did it again. And the reason why he's against Marcus McKing is because on Slamfest, I don't think it was last week, but I think it was a week before, Ray Kingman fought Marcus McKing in this open challenge, and Mayhem Midden and Wade Morris both hit the ring. The reason why Mayhem Midden hit the ring is because he's been going back and forth with Marcus McKing, and Wade Morris hit the ring to make sure Marcus McKing was not going to get 2-on-1, because Wade Morris had previously challenged Ray Kingman. So it was the first draw for Ray Kingman in his open challenge spectacle, or, experiment, whatever you want to call it. But also now, I do believe, I could be wrong, but I do believe Mayhem Midden getting involved in helping Ray Kingman win is also the first time someone helped him win. And now we move to the continuation of Ray Kingman's rivalry, or Ray Kingman's test. And it's Hollywood Mike Kinsey, who has been free and clear for the most part in 1981, and is ready to step up and challenge Ray Kingman and give him a real test. But the fact of the matter is, Hollywood just steps up. He said this when he challenged him last week. He stepped up and said it. No money. For the last year, the reason why you're doing this is because you're out to earn respect and prove why these people should respect you. No money. I don't want the money. I don't want the money, Ray. What I want is that if you beat me, then you earn my respect. I will give you my respect if you can beat me. I don't need the money. But the one thing that I want from you is I don't want what happened tonight to happen. I don't want anyone else involved. It's me and you, one-on-one. If you beat me, you get my respect. But so it's adding another layer and twisting things on its head. You might, if you're watching this, you might see where it's going, but that's not the right finish. But I guess but it still makes sense. As Angus MacLeod, close your eyes and picture it. Angus MacLeod who is managed by Aries, by the way. Angus MacLeod was handed a foreign object by Aries and whack, knocks down Hagar and gets another cheap victory over Hagar as Angus MacLeod, a freshly heel Angus MacLeod. For the first time in 4 years, Angus MacLeod is not a babyface. But now we shift over to the next segment, which is Frank Rock ready to announce who his partner is going to be in the finals of the Battle Bowl. And the reason why Luis Montero appears, even though Frank has been teaming with Sky Maverick for the last 2 years, and we think it's going to be obvious, Frank is interrupted by Dexter Priceweather and Luis Montero, as Luis Montero is perplexed that Frank picked Sky and not Luis, because Luis is the one that teamed with Frank in the Battle Bowl qualifying matches for the right to qualify for the Battle Royal, and Luis thought that Frank would pick him and not Sky Maverick. But the truth be told, this is going to lead to something more with Luis Montero. Because Luis Montero is one of the top prospects in the company and somebody I could build the company around. Hagar Erickson comes back and reappears when he regains his composure after being rocked by the right hand from Angus. That's supposed to be Aries. I don't know why I said. I don't know why I thought Hagar, but Angus and Aries have been using the numbers. But I think it's time I make a call because I still have some friends around here, and even the odds. So things are gonna get a little bit more interesting with Hagar and Angus because things are far from over between those two. And now we move to what I was talking about earlier, the finals of the Battle Bowl tournament, as the Blazing Flames go against Rock and Maverick. And of course, the Flames get the victory, winning the Battle Bowl and earning the #1 contender opportunity against the World Tag Team Champions, Mickey Starr and Sam Strong. The fact of the matter is, since last fall, issues have arose between the Flames and Sam Strong, and the issues arose when Mickey Starr was injured on the shelf with a strained bicep, because the Flames were the Supreme Tag Team Champions, and they were going against Mayhem Mitten and Blackjack, the World Tag Team Champions, the team that defeated Sam and Mickey Starr. It was time for a unification match, and the Flames were looking to become 7-time tag team champion, or 8-time tag team champions. They were looking to win the unification match, but miscommunication, an error in communication, a breakdown of communication, whatever you want to call it. That night when the Flames lost, they blamed Sam Strong for getting involved, because Sam Strong appeared, and as one of the Flames were running the ropes, Sam Strong was fighting Knight Rider on the was ready to fight Knight Rider on the outside. He reared back to give him a right hand and accidentally hit one of the Flames. Knocking him in, and allowing the 1, 2, 3. Knocking him into, I believe it was Blackjack. Knocking him into Blackjack and allowing Blackjack and Mayhem Mitten to win the unification match and become Supreme Tag Team Champions. But after that, they told Sam Strong to stay in the back. They didn't want to hear an apology. They told Sam Strong to stay in the back. And after that, slowly but surely, things started to progress. After Artie Goldstein got involved to allow the Flames to maintain maintain it. Wait, I'm skipping ahead. Rick Rummel got involved because of Babbitt trying to keep Team Supreme together. But that also brought Romeo Hart in as well, and Romeo Hart grew to resent Rick Rummel. Babbitt slowly but surely tried, as she might, to keep the team together. But after the Flames pile drove Sam Strong, they say it was an accident. Mickey Starr and Sam Strong believe it was on purpose. But after they pile drove Sam Strong and then showed a blatant disrespect to Mickey Starr, when Mickey Starr was accepting his his Wrestler of the Decade award from the WFIA for the work he did in the 1970s and the success he had in the 1970s, not only did they interrupt it and show a blatant disrespect to the person who led this company, but Teddy and Romeo appeared from behind, and Teddy jumped Mickey with a slapjack, showing an even more blatant disrespect. And the reason why Mickey Starr was alone is because matchmaker Antonio Moretti was at ringside during the award ceremony, and nobody expected the Flames and Romeo to show that disrespect and pull that with Antonio right at ringside. But now, after about a month of them slowly but surely being pushed apart, this victory brings them back together, because in February, in February, they last fought in a 6-man tag. Now, the Flames get their chance in May against Mickey and Sam for the tag belts. But now we move to something to bring the crowd back down, and that is the World Television Championship, as Chris Marcus and Bob Bochenko. Again, Bob Bochenko, he builds up Chris at the expense of Amari Anjala. And he says that Chris is able to take direction. Chris was willing to listen. And the fact is, the reason why Amari Anjala was not willing to listen is because he failed his first mentor, so he didn't want to listen to me. I didn't fail him, he failed me. And this, of course, Amari Anjala, who has been poked and poked over the last couple of weeks by Bob Bochenko, is heard enough. He has heard enough, and Amari Anjala makes a beeline for Bochenko, and Chris Marcus pulls him back, flips him around, and then makes a beeline out of the ring when he realizes he's alone in the ring with Amari Anjala. But now Chris Marcus has another challenger. He has a new challenger, and the new challenger is a freshly babyface, Amari Anjala. And that should be a testament to what is happening here in SWF, because those two guys will put together an amazing contest for the TV belt. And in my opinion, they will probably have, because Chris Marcus and Amari Anjala are completely underrated and are two people I see with bright futures. Because even though we did trim down the roster a little bit, the idea is Amari Anjala is one of the people that I tried to keep around and tried to figure something out for him, and it just so happens that Bob Bochenko is his former manager. Amari debuted as a member of Aries Titans, but then once Aries Titans disbanded, Amari did not have another place to go, so Bob Bochenko tried to take him under his wing, but that went nowhere, and Bob blames Amari for that. But now we move to a surprising match put together by Antonio Moretti, as Antonio Moretti announced that even though the number one contenders for the World Tag Team titles would be determined tonight, Antonio Moretti also announced that Sam and Mickey Starr would be defending the Tag Team Championships against a very well-respected international tandem, and the international tandem is over from Birmingham. It is the Black Serpent Cult, Viper, and Cobra. Cobra's been here, Cobra's been here before, as he challenged Mickey Starr back in the day, when Mickey Starr was the tag team champion. But they are just here for a little bit. They are not here for the long term, and that's why in their first appearance in the company, together as a tandem, they lose to the franchise Mickey Starr and Sam Strong. But, just looking at it, I'm dumbfounded with what the show's going to be, because that's about the third match that's gotten an 81, and I think that is the best thus far my show has done. With that being said, Mr. Noro and Masa Mawasa, as Noro and Mawasa are the number one. Noro is the number one contender for Sid Streets. Earlier in the month, Noro appeared with Mawasa and cost Sid his match against Angus MacLeod, meaning Angus MacLeod got a DQ victory. I believe I went with a DQ victory over the World Heavyweight Champion. But Angus is busy with Angus is busy with Hagar, and that's where Noro and Mawasa have stepped in and have taken a spot. And the reason why that's significant, we'll get to when we get to the main event. We got another stop to make beforehand, and that is with the Masked Fury against Ted Muchnick. The Masked Fury is the New England champion, and much like Sam Keith, much like Amiri Angela, and much like Chris Marcus, is somebody I see as the future, as long as he can keep progressing, as long as he can keep moving forward, as long as he can keep doing what he does and what he's been doing, and that's getting better. Masked Fury is somebody that is the future of SWF, especially with Larry Grubbs, as Larry Grubbs and Masked Fury are a part of the All-Star team with Coach Richie and Ray Kingman, and of course Vincent Morris, which I know a lot of people are not going to know who Vincent Morris is because he was generated in my save. But the fact of the matter is, Larry Grubbs is amazing. I just got to put that out there. And Masked Fury, I have some doubts about. I do. Because he has a little bit of a drug issue, but it's under control. And that's why Masked Fury gets what is the biggest win of his career thus far tonight against Big Ted Muchnick. He gets the biggest victory of his career tonight against Big Ted to not only retain the New England Championship, but defeat Ted Muchnick. And now we move ahead as the anticipation continues to the main event with Sid standing with his wife. And this is the first time that Sid actually acknowledges the fact that him and Athena are married now. And he points out that he's grateful to be the champion, and he will leave tonight still the SWF champion. And the reason why this was significant, the reason why this mattered, is because these two men have been in SWF nonstop with no breaks since 1977. 4 years. 4 years, and this is not an exaggeration. I looked. These two, I'll even show you after we go through it. This is the first time that these two men, in any way, shape, or form, have met in the ring, and it's the first time being for the World Championship and the main event of a pay-per-view. It is all the more special. It is all the more special, that being said, as Noro and Sid Streets finally meet for the first time in 4 years, and Sid Streets puts to rest his thorn, I guess you would say, of Mr. Noro that has been poking and prodding him since the start of the month. And now Sid gets to move on to whatever comes next. And but first, and this is one of the reasons why I decided to put this together as Artie Goldstein, the resident lawyer of SWF. He has worked with Wildman Sullivan, he's worked with Mayhem Madden, he's worked with The Flames. He's worked with Antonio Moretti. The fact of the matter is, Artie Goldstein gets work wherever he can, and Artie Goldstein appears on behalf of Mr. Black to let Sid Streets know that though that was a solid victory, Mr. Black is watching. When Artie Goldstein debuted, he let Bob Johnson know that he was brought into the company. He was brought into the company by a certain client who wanted him in SWF, but wouldn't share any more information due to attorney-client privilege. And it looks like maybe Mr. Black may have been that client that bought Artie Goldstein into SWF. But this is how the Wrestling Classic comes to a close. Now, I'm not disappointed at the results of the event. I am not disappointed whatsoever, as I've said this before and I'll say it again. There's a bigger story to tell and a bigger picture with all of this. There's unfinished business with Marcus McKing and Mayhem Madden. There's there's developing stories with with Hollywood and Ray Kingman. Angus MacLeod and Hagar are developing. There's unfinished business with Sid Streets and Angus MacLeod. The most tense, vital rivalry in SWF is ready and set to write another chapter in May with Strong Star against the Blazing Flames for the World Tag Team titles, and of course, an eventuality of seeing Romeo Hart and Rick Rumble. But also, the big question is, one person conspicuous by his absence due to not having a challenger, Wildman Sullivan. Wildman Sullivan will be back in the picture in May, because you can't go that long without the sight of the Wildman. But also, the developing of the Annie Stardust and the women's division, and Mr. Black. There's very few things that sell better in pro wrestling than a mystery. There's very few things that sell better and get people talking than a mystery. And the fact of the matter is, that's what we have now in SWF, a mystery. But also with Max Fury and, hell, with Sam Strong. Sam Strong's on the young side too. Marcus McKing and, see, Mayhem Madden is with Blackjack and Knight Rider. And honestly, Blackjack and Knight Rider were teaming together. I mean, Blackjack and Mayhem were teaming together against Marcus McKing and Ace McQueen in January, when Ace McQueen went down with a severe concussion and is now missing the rest of the year. The reason why Ace and Blackjack are not teaming together is because is because in 1979, Ace and Blackjack lost a tag team match with against the Flames, to where the winner of the match, the losers of the match, would not be able to team together for a year. So when the Flames beat Deadly Gamble was not able to team together for a year. So that is now, with Ace McQueen on the shelf, Marcus McKing is on his own, going against Blackjack, Mayhem, and Knight Rider, but also with the fact that Mayhem and Knight Rider are attacking Blackjack's former partner and are criticizing someone, aka Marcus McKing, who is trying to stand up for Blackjack's former partner. Things could get interesting with Blackjack, Marcus, Mayhem, and Knight Rider. The story is not finished yet. And before we go away, I just wanted to show this and one other thing. All years, also involving Sid Streets, the fact that both men have been a part of the company non-stop. They have never left. They have never been injured, to my knowledge, knock on wood. But they have never fought each other in 4 years, until last night when they fought for the SWF World Title at Wrestling Classic. So that is a testament to, in my opinion, something special. Actually, I wanted to show 3 things, as this helped the Battle Bowl and set up the Battle Bowl as something special for next year. I honestly liked how unique the setup was with the qualifying matches on the show, and then the Battle Royal, and then the tag team match. It worked out perfectly. There's probably a cleaner way to do it, but, I kind of fucked myself, so whatever. But Max Fury, Chris Marcus, Wildman, Annie, Sid, and Mickey and Sam. The fact of the matter is, I went from a majority of the people having short reigns to a majority of the people now having long reigns. Long-ish reigns, I would say. But the other thing I wanted to show is, this ain't going nowhere. This ain't going nowhere. This ain't going nowhere. This is the one feud that, in my opinion, is ending tonight. This is still developing, which actually, no, this is also ending too. I apologize. This is still going. It started in October, which as I mentioned when I went through it on the show. But this is done. And this one's done. This story stems, as you read in the description, this story stems from last year on a radio broadcast. Max Patriot expressed an unfavorable opinion about the Brooklyn Punk. It is unclear why the Patriot has his opinion of Punk, or why he has the opinion that he does, but what we do know is this is going to be interesting. These two have been taking subtle shots, as the reality is, with us being a national company, there's no way people couldn't have heard about Max Patriot's unfavorable opinion about Punk. And when he joined the company, it is something that, it was a story within a story that needed to be told. But with that being said, if you like TEW, and if you like an insight into what's going on here in SWF, then let me know down in the comment section below. If you're a fan of the Cornellverse, if you played the 1977 season, the 1977 database, leave a comment down below. But also, if you want more of this, there's only one thing to do, and it is to leave a like, subscribe, because Wrestling Express is the place to find it, and follow the story. With that being said, though, that is it from me, and I will see you in the next one.